human rights through the enactment of specific laws. Your teaching will be impacted by state, federal, and local laws, as well as court decisions. It is important to know about what is legally required of you. While teaching does not yet have a uniform code of ethics, you will be expected to do what is both legally and morally right. The best interests of students should always guide your decisions. Unethical conduct leads to distrust of the profession. Always consider the possible consequences of your behavior. As a teacher, you will probably encounter many ethical dilemmas. Pick one situation on pages 227 to 228 to reflect upon. Teachers have the same rights as other citizens, but they must obey the laws and district policies. Teachers have a right to non-discrimination. No teacher who meets all of the requirements for initial certification can be denied a teaching license. School districts must also practice fair hiring procedures. Teachers' due process rights cannot be violated. For example, adequate documentation must be provided before dismissing a teacher. Teachers cannot be dismissed because of a disagreement with the principal or for involvement in political activities. Your teaching license can be revoked for unprofessional conduct. A teaching contract is an agreement between the teacher and the school board. The contract states your salary as well as your job responsibilities. Tenure provides job security after a period of time. Virginia requires renewable contracts for 3 years, with at least one performance assessment during that time. Teachers can be dismissed from their positions for any of the following reasons: insubordination, incompetence, neglect of duty, conduct unbecoming of a teacher, subversive activities, decreased need for services, physical or mental health, age, causing or encouraging disruption, engaging in illegal activities, offensive language, poor personal appearance, sex-related activities, and use of drugs. Teachers must be periodically evaluated to determine their effectiveness. Schools use both formal and informal evaluations. Currently in Virginia, 40% of a teacher's evaluation is based on student progress and achievement. Collective bargaining means that teachers have the right to join professional organizations and bargain as a group for items such as salary increases. Teacher organizations usually provide free legal counsel or representation to teachers. In Virginia, you may choose to join a teacher's organization, but you may not strike if you do not get what you want from the school board. At school, teachers' freedom of expression may be limited. Teachers may express personal beliefs to some extent, but must use common sense as well. Teachers have no right to control the curriculum. Teachers do have the right to teach in the manner they want to teach and express views on subjects to a certain extent. Teachers must not defy state or local curriculum directives and must have acted in a professional manner. Academic freedom is no longer a strong defense for teachers. Most states do not have laws regarding student teachers. However, student teachers must work to prevent liability and must follow the directions of the supervising teacher. Student teaching is not a right, but it is a privilege. Universities can remove unprofessional student teachers. Teachers have many responsibilities. Teachers must meet the terms of their contract. Teachers must also keep children safe at all times. Here are some examples of a teacher's legal responsibilities. Teachers must prevent liability, avoid negligence, report child abuse, avoid sexual harassment, observe copyright laws, and practice ethical behavior. Tort liability means that someone did not fulfill his or her legal duty and can be held responsible for monetary damages. You can be held liable for negligence for inadequate supervision or instruction, as well as the lack of medical attention to students. By law, teachers are mandatory reporters of child abuse. You should familiarize yourself with the signs of child abuse because you will be required to complete a child abuse training for initial licensure. Teachers must also follow copyright laws for all material, including photocopies, videotapes, and software. The Copyright Law of 1976 says that teachers can make single copies of material for their own use in research, may make multiple copies if each copy has the copyright notice and is used for only one course, but teachers may not make copies to replace reusable textbooks or charge students more than the cost of the copying. Fair use states that a person may use copyrighted material in a reasonable manner without permission, as long as that use does not reduce the demand for the work or the author's income. When publishing student work on the Internet, be sure that you do not include last names or identifying information. Social media adds additional legal and ethical dilemmas for teachers. Some districts have policy regarding its use, while others do not. Generally, teachers should avoid posting pictures or identifying information about their classes. Also, be careful what you say and who you friend. It's probably not a good idea to be friends with parents on social media. Students do not leave their rights at the schoolhouse door. However, student rights may be limited in the interest of education and safety. Students have the right to freedom of expression. However, principals have full rights to censor or edit student publications. Students must also be careful of social media postings, being sure that they do not cause disruption. Students also have the right to express themselves through dress, but dress codes limit this right based on educational needs. In addition, students have the right to due process. Courts have ruled that students have the right to an education and cannot be removed unfairly. Schools must notify students of conduct standards and consequences for misbehavior at the beginning of the year. Students are also protected under the Fourth Amendment. Schools must investigate before taking action and searching a student locker. Searches can include random drug testing, but must be limited in scope. The Buckley Amendment gives parents and students a right to examine their child's educational records. Just like teachers, students have a right to non-discrimination. Students cannot be discriminated against or denied an education for any of the following reasons: pregnancy, marital status, race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or infectious disease. Students have the right to non-discrimination in sports as well. This includes students who have HIV or AIDS. Teenage parents still have the right to an education as well. Finally, students with disabilities cannot be denied a free, appropriate public education. Issues with legal rights of school districts. Most critics argue that corporal punishment is not effective. However, many school districts still use corporal punishment. The Supreme Court ruled that corporal punishment is not cruel and unusual in the case Ingram v. Wright. School districts may be held liable for sexual harassment, especially when teachers are involved. Cyberbullying is also a problem for school districts. Currently, 13 states grant schools authority to address off-campus behavior that creates a hostile environment. Conflicts over religion continue to present themselves in schools. The Establishment Clause says that schools may not promote or inhibit religion. Many court cases, such as Ingle v. Vattel or Abington Township v. Shemp, deal with education and religion. The Litman test is used to determine if separation between church and state has been violated with religion in schools. The Litman test has 3 parts. Does it have a secular purpose? Does it advance or inhibit religion? And does it excessively entangle government and religion? Here are some guidelines for religious activities in schools. Students may read their Bibles or other scriptures, say grace before meals, and pray or study religious materials during non-instructional times. Teachers should not discriminate against students who express religious beliefs in schoolwork. Schools may grant parental requests to excuse students from class for religious reasons. And teachers cannot participate in prayer activities with schools when acting in official capacities as representatives of the state. Homeschooling allows parents to have more control over their child's education. Homeschooling is allowed in all states and the District of Columbia. States may have different regulations or requirements regarding homeschooling.